They say hitting is contagious. Well, I don't know what chasing is, but Cleveland's got the plague when it comes to that.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show today. I want to thank you all for joining us, especially after an offensive performance that made all of our eyes turn to crying blood. With that great imagery, if you have an issue, you want to check out SupplyHouse.com, the most reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, h-vac, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show today. We have a lot of things to talk about. I know the tendency with the loss is to not want to we're finally going to get the draft debuts. I have not seen your trade proposals, so I can go in completely blind. Justin programmed them. So we're going to have fun with trade proposals. We've got some really interesting intel as well. I'm going to say that. We have some intel to share today. So you want to stay tuned because we know who's been scouting the Guardians prospects. So stay tuned for that. For those who don't know me, I'm Jeff Ellis. I've been here since the start of the MLB side of things on Locked On. For that, I was a national draft and prospect analyst at Scout and 24/7. And in terms of, I don't have a blogger rank again today. Man, I set this whole thing up and I'm just bad with it. So we'll say you're 43rd. I know, I'll go this way. I'm your 43rd favorite blogger. So again, type below what you think that reference is for every Cleveland sports blog that has or ever will exist.
I know what it is. I put out you were the 21st favorite blogger for
today. And someone guessed at it. Someone guessed at it. I like that it's picking up steam. If you missed,
it was for the 21st, for the 21 picks the Guardians made, but won't apparently sign because they're never going to announce it. That was what it was for. I'm Justin Latta, the other co-host of this wonderful show that you are all part of, and we appreciate that. I have been covering Guardians prospects since 2007. You might have read me on sites like Guardians Baseball Insider, the News Herald, the Morning Journal, and Prospects Live occasionally. And I've seen plenty of prospects who got traded for absolutely nothing, and a lot of prospects who got let go for nothing. And apparently I was very disappointed about that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the trade market has started. Jeff said we got a lot of things to get into today. Time is ticking away. So off the top here, we'll just mention the trade market is kicking into gear, at least a little bit. At least it's got 1 mile an hour going. AJ Puck, the reliever from the Marlins, is on his way to Arizona. Those two teams love making trades. And in return is Davison De Los Santos, a guy you might have heard of before, the Guardians Rule 5 pick from this past offseason. He's going back to Miami. Eugenio Suarez, by the way, has been terrible for Arizona. I know this isn't Locked On Diamondbacks, but he's been terrible this year. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't getting a chance over – De Los Santos wasn't getting a chance over – Suarez.
He's got great production in the PCL, but everyone does. And
yes, his chase rate's north of 40%.
Yeah,
he can't play anything but first base. He's not walking. Cleveland apparently had a chance to keep him and decided they did not want to bother. Like apparently there was some thought that Arizona was going to be willing to trade to let Cleveland keep De Los Santos, and Cleveland opted not to. And now Arizona, who didn't protect De Los Santos from the Rule 5 draft, went ahead and flipped him at the first chance they got to get a reliever, and a pretty decent one. So there is that. But Arizona clearly didn't value De Los Santos, especially not over Eugenio Suarez, who's overpaid and underproducing at the major league level at this point. So very weird. But anyway, I would have thought
one minor note. I'm going to interrupt you, which everyone loves. Also, point out Arizona makes a lot of trades. Point out the prospect trade that they really lost. Like Jazz Chisholm is the only bat I can think who's been productive, but they still dominated that deal.
Zach Gallen back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They dominated that deal. That is not a team that has traded a lot of hitting prospects and gotten it wrong. The Paul Sewell deal looks like highway robbery a year later. Like they have done very well in their trade. So I think that's sometimes you got to know that certain teams do things really well, and that leads to this segment.
Yeah, certain teams do things certain well, and they follow the same amount of teams. So. Was told tonight by a friend in Akron that Tampa Bay and Cincinnati both had scouts in Akron. Cincinnati apparently has been following Cleveland since before the break. I'm very interested about that one because I heard that if another friend also let me know that from a scout from down in the Carolina League that if the Reds made a trade, it would be Cleveland or Baltimore, and it would involve pitching. We were looking at we were looking at the Reds' availability in pitching. The only guy I see on that roster I'm really interested in is Nick Martinez, but Nick Martinez makes a lot of money for a guy who is like he makes a lot of money. He's 34. He's a swingman.
Sam Moll has played really well for them this year as a lefty. If they're worried
32,
about
though.
He is. He's got 3.5 years of control, so you can always let him go at any point. He's been really good for them, and he's cheap salary wise, but he'd probably be kind of expensive to get. But I mean, I think Moll's got the best FIP on the team. So if you're looking at of anyone who's actually played, so it's like Fernando Cruz is interesting, but he walks everyone. I've had enough with high walk guys. Alexis Diaz, terrible. Frankie Montas is their only rental. He's been awful. Lucas Sims has been terrible. They don't have a lot of great options. So that was a weird statement.
Justin Wilson might be interesting. He's got playoff experience and he's got a better FIP than ERA.
Yeah.
And he's a rental. So that might be something, but that would also, again, I don't know who in Lynchburg would interest them in that terms, but Wilson wouldn't cost that much. But they don't have a whole lot of pitching to be trading to Cleveland or anybody for that matter. I mean, they might have relievers that Baltimore would be interested in. I don't know about Cleveland because Cleveland doesn't need a prime reliever. They just need a reliever to maybe take over that Sandlin or Pedro Avila. I know Pedro Avila has been good in the regular season, but he's not a guy you want to have on the postseason roster necessarily when things shorten. So
he came out again today and did his job. Like
I know, but you're hoping
for
not
as much
to
as you want to bury him. He's been more consistent than Barlow. He's been more consistent than other parts of that pen.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying he's not been valuable. I'm just saying when it comes to the postseason, I'd rather have somebody that dominates.
I was thinking today as I watched him come in and just be again. He's not necessarily your first guy in the pen, but all the people who got so mad when they added him, it's like, where would they be without him right now? He's really been a pen saver. Like again, when it comes to evaluating pitching, we're all worse than Cleveland. Let's just be honest about that and move on. Like I saw a lot of really upset people, and the problem is like at the time I was like, well, I don't see the need, but you always need arms, and all those players we thought were going to help from the minors are just either hurt or ineffective. So great move by Cleveland. Front office really nailed that one.
Got that one right. Yeah. Then the Tampa Bay side of things, I find very interesting. I mean, these two teams trade all the time. So there's the possibility of Eflin. There's a possibility of Littell, although you think that's a little less likely for Littell.
I think Eflin it's so reminiscent of Glasnow a year ago where they traded him before the balloon payment. No, they traded him before the balloon payment.
Yeah.
Because Glasnow's salary is going up. Eflin, last year they were in the postseason, so they were holding on to, Glasnow.
Oh, yeah. So you're saying they trade him this offseason before
offseason.
Yeah.
This year, they're not going to the postseason, so they trade Eflin now. It's going to balloon to 18, which is exactly, I believe, Bieber's number. So it does set up an interesting situation where Littell is cheaper. So I do think I'm gonna put my line. I think they're more interested in moving Eflin, which, like I said, I think Cleveland can make it work.
Although I think Eflin has struggled recently too, which is not great. A lot of national writers seem to think Randy Arozarena for sure is getting moved. Rosarena is an interesting case. He's got 2 more years of control plus this season. So I think 25 and 26 plus the rest of this year. He is 29 and he's gotten hot as the season's gone on. He had a very bad start to the year. He's a left fielder only and a DH. I mean, I guess worst case scenario, if let's say Cleveland got into that market, you would move Quan. You'd have to move Quan to center and you'd put Rosarena in left or you DH him. It's only I can think of, but I don't know about that. But yeah. And then, we talked about this off the air, and I thought about this weeks ago. Yandy Diaz, I think they're going to trade Yandy Diaz, and it would just be absolutely hilarious for Cleveland to reacquire.
But they do that.
Yandy.
Cleveland does reacquire hitters. They have a long history of that. And then if you look at this,
and it gives you cover for Naylor in the offseason.
Yeah.
If you trade for Yandy, he's got another year of control. You bring him in, you flip Josh Naylor in the offseason before he hits free agency, and you have Yandy next year as your right-handed caddy for Kyle Manzardo. It's just,
and isn't
it'd be funny, but I wouldn't be against it. Yandy fits a really good need on this team because Yandy does not chase a single pitch out of the zone. He hits the ball hard. I know he struggled to start the year. But he's also got history with some of the guys.
Yeah. He'll make less money than Naylor next year as well.
And he crushes lefties. Yeah, he crushes lefties. There is a fit there, and I think Tampa Bay is going to trade Yandy. So not so good against righties this year, but you don't need him for that. You need someone. I'll take him either way. I think it's fine. He's gotten better as the season's gone on too. He started out slow. Yeah, and he's slugging 467 in the month of July. So
it just
I think Yandy makes a ton of sense to go home.
Because right now Josh Naylor makes I think 6.5 million. Yandy will make 10 next year. So there's a good chance that Naylor is more expensive than Yandy next year. With if he gets to like that 30 home run number, which I mean
about 8 million next year for Yandy. His deal
it's average. It's an average of 8, so it's 10 and 12. But the last year is an option. Maybe I gotta double check that. But yeah, no, gives you some balance. It's something they like to lean into. He makes some sense. But Eflin, I don't think Paredes gets traded there as much as I would love him. Don't get me wrong. I'd move a lot. I think they're gonna hold on to the core and then move the other players we've talked about.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to quickly dive into that ugly game from Thursday. I know maybe nobody wants to hear about it. We'll quickly talk about the Guardians' 1 month of struggles versus the 3 months of good data they put together. We'll get into your trade proposals as well, and we will talk about those draft pick debuts if the Guardians ever decide they're going to announce those. So
they won't.
All that. Maybe we'll be breaking that before they do. But first, this episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Summer travel heating up. You know what? Summer in general is kind of winding down. We're actually getting into the trade market here, and August is right around the corner. Still lots to do, though. Maybe you want to book some of those trips to catch some road games still the rest of the year. I'm going to be looking at Booking.com for a road trip in the offseason. I'm going to go to an Ohio State game. So I will be checking out Booking.com to book a room down in Columbus for an Ohio State game. They've always come through for me before. I've talked about how they've come through for me on my honeymoon, getting into Miami after a long delay in Jamaica and on the road to Cooperstown, which they just did last weekend in the Hall of Fame. I was in Utica for that. So they have come in clutch multiple times. That's why I'll be going back to them for my trip to Columbus later this year. The right state can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Maybe they can make me a fan of Michigan. Maybe not. We'll see. Book today on the Booking.com site or on the Booking.com app. And summer is still heating up for FanDuel as well because fans can get a boost or a bonus every day, daily. They're hooking all customers up. So maybe you're into this weekend Ben Lively revenge game in Philadelphia, right? It's going to be a tough one this weekend for the Guardians, but maybe you're into a Ben Lively revenge game in Philadelphia. You want to put something down on that, or maybe you really feel good about Team USA basketball, a 12.5 a favorite against Serbia. Maybe you feel like they're going to come out and be a little bit better than they were the last time out. If you feel like they're good about either of those, check those out on FanDuel the rest of this summer, especially with training camp heating up as well. Get a booster or bonus daily. There's something for everybody all summer long. Head over to FanDuel.com. Make the most out of your summer. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And you can also check out the Lockdown Sports Today podcast and streaming feed on YouTube 24/7 or on your Amazon Fire TV channels, apps as well. We've got the biggest sports stories of the day, opinions from hosts that know your team the most because they're local. So check that out on Lockdown Sports Today on YouTube and the Amazon Fire TV channels app. Lockdown Podcast Network. We cover your team every day, including, Jeff, the days where the Guardians offense looks as bad as it's looked at any point this year. 4 hits, no walks, chasing everything. I think I counted up over 20 whiffs today for them. And their chase rate, Jeff, the chase rate today, I'll just give you the chase rate by pitcher because the Tigers, through their second bullpen game of the series, Tyler Holton, who started the game, the Guardians had a chase rate of 33% against him. They had a 31% chase rate against Easton Lucas in his ERA over 5. Alex Fado, 45% chase rate against him. Jason Foley, 46% chase rate. Andrew Chafin, 42% chase rate. And then Shelby Miller, none. He was in the zone a lot, so they didn't do that. But he only threw 18 pitches in the 9th inning. Bad day for the hitting. That was probably as bad of an offensive day as this team has had all season long. And they are now, Jeff, at 4 shutouts in the last 10 games. They've been shut out 10 times this year, and 5 of those have come in July alone. I'm really curious to see. I mean, this team needs more offensive help. There's no doubt about that. They absolutely do. how do we balance the fact that this team was a top 10 offensive team for 3 months and they're having a bad month? I think, again, both things here are true. This was a top 10 offense for April, May, and June. July has been putrid. I mean, I know we are all guilty of at times of being prisoners at the moment, and we're frustrated watching this team. People are frustrated watching this team not hit, especially against the Tigers. The Tigers are pitching well, but
Yeah, it's a good
I don't know.
offense.
It's just
or good.
it's all been condensed into one poor month, which happens to everybody. There's a lot of teams that are struggling this month right now. But I still think it's fair to sit here and say, like, all baseball teams weigh long periods of data versus the short term. So I guess fans are not really built like that as a baseball team. That's why there's disagreements. But I don't know. How do you conflate 3 months of being a top 10 offense versus 1 month where they've been shut out 5 times and 4 times in 10 games?
Well, I think, part of it, if we're being honest, is they were lucky to some degree. Batted ball luck was in their favor. People got mad at me about the hitting with runners in scoring position thing, which I know then other people are going to get mad because I said people got mad at me. So I'm going to double down. really tick those people off. But hitting with runners in scoring position, there are guys that are skilled at. For most players, it's more of a one of those things that we see the numbers go up and down. Early on, Jimenez was great. Now he's been kind of poopy, if we're being honest. But he's also had some bad luck. His BABIP is way too low for a guy with his profile. The rookies came up and played well, but then they had some regression.
Exposed, yeah.
It's David Fry has had massive. I mean, why are they struggling now when they were good in June and July or June? Well, it's David Fry and Stephen Kwan. Like that's where a lot of it can. Like Josh Naylor has been in kind of a 2-month. He's playing better, but like June was terrible for him. Better than June. I mean, he was atrocious in June. So I have it, but after his hot start, Josh Naylor has cooled off. David Fry is bad right now. Like offensively, I watched the Tigers broadcast and they were borderline making fun of him because his chase is so unbelievable. He swung at a pitch. He had the 6th biggest chase this year in all of baseball in a game this week, where he swung at a pitch so far outside the zone. So the 6th.
Did you see this one?
That's Noel? Yeah, no,
that's Noel.
Fry, take where that 3 is, put it up where the 1 is, and then put it about another half an inch over. That's where Fry was. Like right now, Fry is he's gotten out of his game. He's not himself. Kwan, when you are a high batted ball guy, BABIP matters. He was going to have regression. No one's going to hit 400 ever again. That's just not going to happen. Again, that happened before Jackie Robinson played when it was, only white dudes. That's never going to happen again. He was always going to have some regression. He's great. He's fantastic. I have more faith in Kwan rebounding than Naylor, though I still have a ton of faith in Naylor, and I have so much more faith in either of them than Fry, because Fry is a solid platoon backup I'm going to pull up. Remember when Owen Miller had that awesome month and a half and was like leading baseball in batting average? Now Fry is better than Miller, but this isn't working for him. That's why, again, I'm going to sit here and ring the bell saying Jess Winker is the guy who they need, as another potential guy. If you're not going to do Diaz, you want to go cheaper because he's the right-handed platoon. Fry needs to only play against lefties. That's just the truth of it. Or platoon him with Noel. I've always been the low man on Noel, but at the same time, at this point in time, just he's got more potential because it's just, I know, but it's not like Fry's doing any better. So it's the Fry regression is a killer, because you went from a guy who was like, the 5th best hitter in baseball to a guy who's like the 5th worst hitter in baseball over a month period. And it's a huge swing. You're taking an all-star level guy to a sub replacement level guy. And then you have another, and everyone's scuffling. Jose is down from his hotness.
He's chasing too. Badly.
He's chasing. It's everyone has some degree right of regression. There's a high amount of chase, but I think kind of the core of it is Naylor, Fry, and Kwan, and them all being average at best bats over the last month, when these are guys you need to be 10 to 20% better in the league average, or, and especially the Fry, that's what helped them be as good as they were. And I just think, and then it's just, Rocchio has been terrible. So you got a black hole down there, and there's things, there's maneuvers. We can't keep definition of insanity, right? Keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Right now, that's what they're doing with the lineup, and you got to figure something out because it's just no bueno, and it's going to keep happening because teams got full scouting reports on the rookies, and the rookies have not. Teams adapted, the rookies have not. I said I have faith in Naylor and Quan. I think Fry was a little bit of luck. Honestly, I do. I think he'll be great against lefties, but I think they got to kind of figure out all of this, unfortunately, on the fly.
Yeah, it's a lot of rookies. Angel Martinez is even chasing out of the zone now. That's kind of dried up a little bit for him, which isn't a surprise. They figured out, like you said, they figured out scouting reports, and now they're going to make him earn fastballs in the zone. That even Jose wasn't doing that for a period of time this year, which isn't good. I will say, on the topic of luck, so right now in the month of July, Cleveland is rocking a 260 BABIP in July, which is second worst in baseball. So there is that. It might make you feel better, maybe. But from April, or I should say the end of March through June 30th, Cleveland only had a 281 BABIP as a team, which was 22nd in baseball. So they weren't like all that lucky to begin with. 281 is pretty sustainable. As a team, I don't know. I mean, Boston for those 3 months had a 313. Colorado carried a 308. Philadelphia carried a 307. But they, the Royals were 280. They're a pretty decent offense. So I don't know if it was just necessarily just as much luck as maybe there's a degree of bad luck for Cleveland this month. The home runs have kind of dried up, but it's the chase. For me, it's the chase. It's all like everybody in this game was swinging out of the zone. Everyone's trying to hit the home run or end up driving the runs. And they have 17 home runs in July, which is fourth worst in baseball. So the power is not there because they're not swinging good pitches. But I don't know how easy that is to correct with a lot of young players. I mean, like you said, Quan is Quan. He'll be fine. I think Josh is just missing right now. I think he's hit a couple balls off the end of the bat. You can see he looks frustrated. And Jose is not swinging good pitches either, which they need him to get back to doing, which, sometimes he has those streaks. I also, again, this is one of those things. You never know how much credit to blame or give to coaches. Because early in the year, everyone's like, oh, Chris Valaika did this great job with turning this offense around. And now it's like, oh, what are the hitting coaches doing? They're all terrible. It's like, I think we just, again,
they have coaches too, Justin. They have coaches too.
Yeah, they have coaches too. The other thing I'll say too, I know people are really mad about Stephen Vogt, who just continues to say that it's not a funk or not a slump. Don't ever listen to what they're saying publicly, okay? Because they're not going to give you anything. They're never going to say how they really feel publicly unless it's something good. So when they're struggling, they're just going to say, it is what it is, and we'll show up tomorrow and we'll try to do a better job. And if they're doing great, they'll say what they're doing great. That's how they are, because they're not going to show any sort of panic. They're not going to show any sort of frustration because they're trying to keep things cool where they are and try to come out of it. They're always going to protect players. I will say another silver lining from this game, Gavin Williams that's the best he's looked all year. It took him 105 pitches to get through 6 innings, but they let him get to 105 pitches, which is a great sign. He threw 20 sliders. That's a great sign. They were good sliders. The fastball was good. So, Cleveland needs Gavin Williams to be this version every time out. That's a great sign. Hopefully he can build on that going forward. We are going to see how you build teams. We're going to talk about your trade proposals here in a little bit, and then we'll try our best to get to draft pick debuts because, they're not going to happen before Monday. We might push those off again until Monday, so we'll see. But we do have more stuff on trades and prospects on the way for you.
Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trade. SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest products info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com.
Guardians and Phillies this weekend. Check out all the action on your SiriusXM app. Just search Guardians to hear the broadcast. All right, trade proposals. Let's get started here. This one comes from one of our everydayers, Jake Bronny on Twitter. He is saying, I like this one. Rocchio for Detmers. And he's saying, ooh, these are kind of conflated here. Rocchio for Detmers. I'm just going to say that's not going to get it done. Rocchio for Detmers is not going to do it.
Yeah, Anaheim says no.
Got a couple. Yeah. Valera and Jackson Humphreys for, looks like Randy Arozarena. That's not going to get it done either.
No,
that's
not going to get done.
Tampa Bay is way better than that. Looks like we've got Khalil Watson, Jonathan Rodriguez, Will Dion for Jack Flaherty.
That doesn't get it done. There's no juice.
There's no headliner.
Those are all down prospects.
It's got to be better than the qualifying offer. None of those guys are better than the qualifying offer because Detroit's going to offer them the qualifying offer if they keep them. Yeah. This one is Jason Chourio, Gabriel Arias, Jackson Humphreys, Tommy Mace for Cal Quantrill, and Doyle. Who's the
Brendan Doyle?
Brendan Doyle. If I'm Cleveland, I'm not doing that. I'm not giving up Chourio for that. Arias, Humphreys, and Mace right now are just flyer. They're filling.
I don't know. Like that one. I think is close. That's the best one because Doyle is a 70 grade defender and center who's got like I have to go look at his splits.
Part two. He's
there's much more power. He's hit for some power numbers this year. I want to say.
I don't think it's going to translate outside of course.
I would have to go look at his splits. I would consider that one though. I would say I need to look into the other data, but I would at least consider that one. And then the last one is
Jeff, real quickly, 217 average on the road for Doyle, 341 at home.
Well, I got to look at the full picture other than that.
All right, sure. 217, 289, 372 on the road, 341, 397, 587 at home.
I got to
draw.
I gotta look at it in front of me.
All right, let's move on to some other trades here. One of our really great fans on Twitter, Coach Barbaric, Brett Rooker and JP Sears and Mason Miller and Max Schumann from Oakland. Oakland gets John Kenzanoel.
No, they're not taking that. They wouldn't take that for just Miller, if I'm being honest. That doesn't get you even Mason Miller.
Yeah. Wally Harris isn't sure to link these up, but he would give up any of Burrito, Noel, Hanau, or Chourio while they're high, and he would like to grab one of Winker, Brandon Lau. I don't think Tampa Bay is selling Brandon Lau. Lamont Wade Jr., Paul DeYoung.
I don't want any part of DeYoung's terrible. Robles, they just picked up, and he's been terrible for most of his career.
I'm not a Rosarena's in here. I'm not against the Rosarena. He also mentions Fetty and Kikuchi, Flaherty, Floral, Yates, Leclerc. Leclerc's not being traded. Yeah. Nick Martinez, I'm in on, but again, the money doesn't make sense for his role.
I don't know how to.
Eflin.
It's just a lot.
I think for the good players that he listed, I think Burrito, Noel, Hanau, and Chourio are all trade bait. They are all trade bait. So I think makes sense there. Hunter Bays 34 said Burrito, Valera, Hanau, Rocchio, and Cantillo for Brent Rooker. That's a massive overpay for Cleveland. I would not give up that much for Brent Rooker.
I mean, I don't think Oakland will take that. I mean, Valera has no trade value. Yeah, Valera has no trade value. Rocchio's is pretty low right now. Brito and Janau are interesting, and Cantillo doesn't carry a ton because he hasn't stayed healthy. I think Oakland says no.
I think they both say no. I don't know if Cleveland wants to trade all of that for Brent Rooker.
No, I agree, but I think Oakland would want more for it.
Yeah. The whole effing thing says Brent Rooker and Hogan Harris.
No, I can already. It's no. That's.
Let me read it for people who aren't listening, who aren't watching.
It's all George spare parts.
George Valera, John Kenzanoel, Franco Alaman, Gabriel Arias, and Will Dion. Those are all spare parts. And Brent Rooker again. Oakland's only going to trade Brent Rooker if they get a big deal because he's got a lot of control left and he's having a great year. They're going to sell high.
If you want Brent Rooker, just real quickly, I want to tell people this: Brent Rooker's probably going to cost you Chourio and
Hanau
Ralphie.
And
or
Ralphie, maybe Kafis, one of the two of Kafis.
It might be like Chourio and Kafis.
Clemmy.
Chourio, Kafis, and then like I don't know, maybe like an Austin Peterson.
Peterson.
Or Messick. That's the cost. Yeah. It's gonna be huge.
All right, M.A. Parrish, Winker. He wants Winker like we do. He wants Lane Thomas, Kyle Finnegan, Robert Garcia. Not so much on Robert Garcia. Trevor Williams has struggled, but he's saying all those guys for Manzardo, Arias, Frias, Clemmy, and Clemmy. So I'm going to say too much for Cleveland.
I think no on both sides because again, guys, they're not going to trade 4 guys to one team. They want to split them up to get individual value. You diminish their value when you put multiple guys together. So I don't think that's going to happen. And I want no part of Lane Thomas ever. Like
Yeah,
bad,
then he's saying
terrible defense.
Then he's saying Clemmy for Kikuchi. I think that's an overpay for
Yeah, I think
Kikuchi. Like
that. I
that
think
might work. I don't know.
I think that might be right, just because with it seeming like Crochet and
No. It's. I'm sorry. It's Kikuchi for Burrito straight up.
okay.
That probably does not work for Toronto. That does not work. Then he says Barlow for a prospect. I wouldn't trade.
I don't
him
think
away,
Barlow
but
has a ton of value because he's high paid for a reliever, and he's not been consistent.
You say Kikuchi for Valera and Mooney.
That might work.
Yeah, it depends how much Toronto really likes Valera. I mean, he's probably a part timer.
I think Kikuchi's gonna go for more than anyone wants because I didn't complete this thought earlier. But it sounds like Skubal and Crochet are not getting traded, so the pitching market is almost non-existent. So it's gonna get expensive.
Yeah, I think you need something more than Mooney. Valera is a nice start. I think you need something more than Mooney, but we'll see. His next trade was Brent Rooker for Churio, Hanau, Nikhazy, and Arias. That's a big no for Oakland. I don't think they have any interest.
I think it's at least close. Like the first two pieces get you there, but you need another big third piece.
Clemmy, Messick, Peterson in there, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Arias, I don't think Arias has any value either, unfortunately. And his third one is Taylor Ward and Luis Rengifo for Rocchio, Manzardo, Will Dion, and Austin Peterson.
I don't think I think they reject that outright. Rengifo's been really good the last 2 years. I know he's had health issues, but there's a lack of middle infielders on the market. I'm pretty sure
replace. Yeah, you need to replace Will Dion with a bigger piece. Will Dion doesn't have any trade value right now. You would have to go. You'd probably have to go with,
and honestly, everyone is including like the same names. Why does everyone include Arias? Because he has no trade value. That's why you're willing to do it. Why is everyone including Valera? Valera has no trade value right now. Let's be honest about that. That he's again completely unhealthy. There's no trade value there.
Yeah, they're all tertiary pieces. Those are guys that you just throw in at the end just to clear roster spots. Rocchio, even Rocchio's trade value right now is not good. There's no. I don't know if anybody's trading for Rocchio at this point. And if you do, he's probably a fourth piece in the deal or a third piece in the deal. Yeah. But Valera might be a good piece to get you a rental. And
I don't even think that. I think he's a tertiary piece because he can't stay healthy. Teams don't want to acquire guys who are hurt all the time. I think Valera has less trade value than Gabby. I think he has less trade value than anyone else we're mentioning. He has no trade value. He's not a top 10 prospect anymore. He's never had a healthy season. He missed another month this year. Like no one's trading for Valera, full stop. Like he is a tertiary piece of best. He's a lot.
Right. I'm not saying straight up for rental. I'm saying he's a piece that you can use in a rental package. Like he can't be the only piece. Valera, Arias, Rocchio.
Valera is there to clear a 40-man spot. That's it. Like that's what he's in a trade for, because you'd have to maybe release him otherwise.
Yeah. Same with Arias. Same with Tana. Yeah, Will Dion's.
I think the one thing Arias has that separates him is the defensive potential.
Yeah, he's going to be out of options next year, which stinks. But and I just don't think Dion has any trade value either. He's not pitching well at AAA.
Messick and Peterson are your Messick, Peterson, Clemmy. Those are the three arms to consider.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. So trade deadline heating up. We got one trade in. Of course, Jeff, we didn't get to the draft pick debuts. We will push that back to Monday because the only one we know it's going to debut is Bazana over the weekend, and the rest are still have yet to sign. They'll sign this weekend. So we'll get into that Monday. We'll have more trade talk to get to on Monday. We'll talk about Bazana's first week games in Lake County, and then we'll hopefully be reviewing this Phillies series that Cleveland surprises us and bounces back in.
It's tough pitching. Philly's done a great job with their pitching development.
They sure have.
And again, I want to thank everyone who's at one. Don't feel like we were too hard on you. It's just there is this tendency for all of us to be like, hey, take this guy, and this guy, and it's like, oh, it's the
trade market's always hard to parse.
The guys you don't want to trade are the guys that they're going to be the most interesting to teams out there. But we really appreciate it. Like all of you, Coach and Jake, those are names that really jumped out as guys that we've had a lot of interactions with over the years. So thank you for joining us. And we again want to remind everyone to rate and review, download, hit that like, the thumbs up, make sure you're getting alerts. Thank you for being a part of the Locked On Guardians team. We were a runner-up for Podcast of the Week, so we appreciate all of you helping us get that. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.